Ah, the beast finally breathes. Look who dropped the mask, the gloves, and the pretense of being tame. Look who finally let the beast out of its carefully constructed cage. You warned them, didn't you? You told them with that quiet voice that trembles just before lightning strikes. You said, "Don't push me. Don't test this. Don't make me show you what lives beneath this controlled surface." But they laughed. They mistook your warning for weakness, your restraint for inability, your control for lack of capacity. They thought you were all talk, all bluff, all performance. So they pushed harder, dug deeper, mocked louder, utterly convinced that you were incapable of the darkness you hinted at. How wrong they were. Now they know it. Now they feel it in their bones, in their sleep, in the cold sweat that wakes them at 3 a.m. Because you didn't just unleash yourself, you unveiled yourself. You dropped every filter, every fake smile, every polite deflection, and showed them exactly what they begged to see. The real you. The version you've been protecting them from for years. The one you locked away not out of shame, but out of mercy. You were never hiding because you were weak. You were hiding because you knew once this version came out, there'd be no putting it back. No undoing, no takebacks, no "I didn't mean it." Because this version of you means every word, every move, every strike, with surgical precision. Remember that exact moment when something inside you shifted, not snapped, but crystallized. When your softness turned to sharpness, when what once flowed like water turned to ice. It wasn't rage, it was colder than that. It was calculation wrapped in calm, strategy dressed as spontaneity. You felt your entire molecular structure reorganize into something they had never encountered before. They kept pushing, thinking they'd mapped your limits, defined your boundaries, understood your capacity for destruction. But the truth was far greater. You'd been holding back an ocean with your bare hands, and they mistook it for a puddle. You'd been containing a nuclear reactor with nothing but duct tape and good intentions, and they mistook it for a candle flame. The moment you stopped protecting them from yourself, the entire atmosphere shifted. The room grew heavier, the air thicker, and their smiles faltered just enough to betray recognition. Something ancient inside them, older than thought, older than pride, knew what was happening before their minds could catch up. Their instincts screamed, but their egos were too loud to listen. You didn't explode. You evolved. Right there in real time, you transformed from the person they thought they could push around into something that made their blood run cold. You didn't shout. You spoke with that calm, low frequency that makes hearts skip. You didn't get emotional. You became surgical, methodical. A quiet, mechanical storm giving them exactly what they had been daring you to show. Look at them now, frozen between recognition and regret, shocked not by your retaliation but by its precision. They expected chaos and got chess. They expected screams and got silence that could cut glass. They expected to see you break, but instead they watched you break through. That's the moment they realized they were never dealing with a victim. They were dealing with a lesson, a living consequence. You weren't the one clinging to them. You were the one tolerating them. You weren't weak. You were patient. And patience, as they just learned, has an expiration date. Now they're scrambling, rewriting history, trying to play innocent. But you see it all. Their fear disguised as confusion, their panic hiding behind feigned surprise. They're not shocked that you had it in you. They're shocked that you finally let it out. Watch how they move now, how carefully they measure their words, how they check their tone before speaking. You've become the unspoken variable in every equation, the quiet authority that alters rooms without effort. You didn't just reveal who you truly are, you revealed who they truly were by contrast. And that mirror you held up was too clear for comfort. They thought they were in control of this experiment, believed they were the scientists, and you were the subject. But you were never the rat in their maze. You were the architect who let them believe they built it. You gave them the illusion of power just long enough to document their true nature, then flipped the entire lab inside out. What they unleashed wasn't anger or revenge, it was evolution. Real-time ascension. You didn't just get stronger, you became sharper, clearer, more precise in your understanding of power. You learned their game while they were teaching it, and then rewrote the rules in a language they can't even comprehend. What's eating them alive now isn't that you fought back. It's that you always could have, and chose not to. Every insult, every test, every attempt to break you was something you allowed. They weren't controlling you, they were being permitted. And now that permission has been permanently revoked. The version of you they awakened doesn't negotiate, doesn't explain, doesn't ask. This version moves through existence like it owns the patent on reality itself. You don't walk into rooms anymore, you alter them by arriving. You don't speak to people, you speak through them, right into the parts of their soul they thought were off limits. Now they sit there replaying every memory, every word, every act of arrogance, trying to pinpoint where they went wrong. But the truth is brutal. They went wrong the moment they mistook your kindness for weakness, your silence for stupidity, your restraint for inability. They played with matches, thinking you were water, never realizing you were gasoline, just waiting for the right spark. And the most terrifying part? It's not what you did. It's what you didn't have to do. You didn't destroy them completely, though you easily could have. You didn't burn every bridge even though you held the matches. You didn't salt the earth even though the poison was in your hands. Instead, you showed them just enough of your true power to haunt them for the rest of their lives, but not enough for them to play the victim. That's the real mastery, isn't it? You gave them exactly what they asked for, but not what they expected. They wanted to see the monster, so you held up a mirror. They wanted to test your limits, so you revealed theirs. They pushed you to the edge, and you showed them what lies beyond it. Now, they can't unsee it. Watch them try to tell others what happened, struggling to put it into words. How do you explain that you pushed someone too far, and instead of breaking them, you unlocked something terrifyingly unshakable? How do you describe realizing that you were never the predator but the prey, studied, observed, and understood by something far more powerful than you could comprehend? This isn't a phase. This isn't you having a moment. This is you arriving, fully, finally, at your ultimate form. The version that no longer shrinks to make others comfortable, no longer dims to let others shine, no longer apologizes for taking up the space you were always meant to occupy. They're still waiting for you to go back to normal, but that old version no longer exists. The one they could manipulate, guilt trip, and control, that was the performance. This version, the one radiating clarity, power, and absolute detachment from their approval, that's who you've been all along. You're not angry anymore because anger still gives them relevance. You're not hurt because hurt implies they still matter. You're not vindictive because vengeance would mean they still hold emotional weight. You've transcended all of that into a state they don't have language for, something beyond their reach, beyond their influence, beyond their understanding. The real you isn't just revealed, it's established, permanent, immovable. It's the new baseline from which all future interactions are measured. You didn't just change the game, you ended it. And in its place, you created your own. One with rules they'll never be invited to learn. You're not playing on their board anymore. You're operating on a plane they can't even perceive. Now they lie awake at night thinking about you, wondering what you might do next, terrified by the silence that replaced your presence. But the irony is beautiful. You're not thinking about them at all. They no longer occupy any real estate in your mind. You've moved so far beyond their reach that they've become static, background noise in a life that no longer includes them. Footnotes in a story you stopped reading. And yet, you live rent-free in their minds. Every time they see someone walk with confidence, they think of you. Every time they meet someone who won't be pushed, they remember you. Every time they test another soul, they hesitate, haunted by the possibility that this one might be another you. You've become their cautionary tale, the reason they tread lightly now, the lesson they'll never admit they learned too late. They didn't just ignore your warning, they demanded proof, and you gave it to them. They pushed until you became something unpushable. They tested until they met a limit harder than their arrogance could crack. Now they have to live with that realization every single day. The fact that they once had access to the softer version of you, and they destroyed it. They had someone who would have moved mountains for them, yet they chose to become the mountain in your way. And now they've learned. You don't move mountains, you become the earthquake that levels them. You walk differently now, not with arrogance, but with absolute knowing. Not with vengeance, but with sovereignty. You've claimed yourself fully, finally, and completely, in a way that makes people feel the shift before you even speak. Your energy arrives before you do, announcing what they feared but refused to believe. You are no longer available for their manipulation, confusion, or games. This was never really about them. It was about you discovering what you're capable of when pushed beyond comfort, beyond patience, beyond every programmed response designed to keep you small. They were never the story. They were the catalyst. The pressure that made the diamond, the fire that forged the steel. You don't need their apologies. Their regret is written all over their lives. You don't need their recognition. Their fear is recognition enough. You don't need their respect. You've evolved past the need for validation entirely. You exist now in a space they can witness but never enter, aware of you, but never included. They were warned not to unleash you. You knew what lived inside, what you were capable of once the restraints came off, once the masks dropped. They thought you were bluffing. You weren't. You were offering mercy. Mercy they arrogantly rejected. And now they live with the consequences of meeting the unrestrained version of you. Every move you make now carries weight they can feel from across the room. Every word hits with precision. Every decision reshapes the atmosphere. Because you've stopped asking for permission to exist at your full capacity. They're scrambling now, trying to understand the new rules, desperate to find the edges of your new reality. But there's no map, no instructions, no guided tour through your transformation. They wanted to see what would happen when you stopped holding back, and now they get to live in that aftermath. Every time they think they figured you out, you reveal another layer, another depth, another dimension that defies their comprehension. You're not just unleashed, you're unlimited, not just revealed, you're revolutionary. You're operating on a frequency they can't even perceive. You warned them first with words, then with energy, then with that look, the one that should have told them everything. But they demanded the full demonstration, and now they have it. The complete unveiling, the total unleashing. They got exactly what they asked for, and it's nothing like what they imagined. There's no going back now. The seal has been broken, the door opened, the truth released into the atmosphere, and it's rewriting everything it touches. You're not the same, and because you're not the same, nothing around you can stay the same. They keep searching for traces of the old you, like archaeologists digging for fossils of something long extinct. They want to believe this transformation is temporary, that eventually you'll calm down, cool off, return to their version of normal. But this is your normal now. This unveiled, undeniable, unstoppable version that makes them question everything they thought they knew about power. That's who you've become. You didn't just show them who you truly are. You showed them what's possible when a person stops living under the limitations others place on them. You became the living contradiction to their comfort zone, the walking proof that meekness only serves the powerful until it doesn't. You shattered their illusion that humility and submission were virtues that kept the peace. You exposed that the meek inherit nothing unless they stop being meek and decide to take what's rightfully theirs. And that revelation didn't just shake them, it rewired them. Because now, every time they see you, they're reminded of what they unleashed. Every encounter reaffirms that this wasn't a mood swing, a temporary awakening, or a passing surge of confidence. This is permanent restructuring, a tectonic shift in your very being, an evolutionary leap that left them choking in the dust of their own disbelief. What truly stuns them isn't your power, it's your command of it. They expected chaos, but what they got was surgical precision. They expected an emotional outburst, but you delivered a strategic dismantling. They expected to watch you lose control, but instead you took it, all of it, and never gave it back. You don't lash out because that would imply they still have the ability to provoke you. You don't seek revenge because that would mean they're still worth your energy. You don't even acknowledge them most of the time because acknowledgement itself would mean they matter. You've mastered the silent art of making people irrelevant without uttering a single word. This level of control terrifies them. You've become something they can't categorize, an intelligent force wrapped in composure, a precision instrument they accidentally activated without understanding its function. They thought they were summoning a storm, but what they got was a weaponized stillness. Every move you make is intentional. Every silence is deliberate. Every gesture lands with the accuracy of someone who's no longer wasting even a molecule of effort. That's what leaves them speechless. Not the volume of your power, but the restraint behind it. You're not a wild animal they set loose. You're a measured force of nature that calculates impact and then delivers it flawlessly. They wanted to see you unfiltered, unrestrained, unleashed. But what they didn't expect was that your unfiltered self would be more disciplined, more focused, and more dangerous in silence than they ever were in their noise. You didn't lose control when you were unleashed. You took control completely. You became the conductor of your own storm, the architect of your own chaos, the authority over your own evolution. And now here we are, at the truth they're only beginning to understand. You warned them not to unleash you, not out of fear of your actions, but out of awareness of their inability to handle what they'd see. You weren't afraid of losing control, you were concerned they'd lose their illusion of dominance. You were protecting them from the raw reality of what genuine power looks like when it stops pretending to be powerless. They thought they were strong because they could provoke you. They thought they were clever because they could manipulate you. They thought they were superior because you let them think it. But now the illusion is dead. The mask has melted, and standing in front of them is the truth, blazing, undeniable, and eternal. The truth that power, when conscious, doesn't shout, doesn't chase, doesn't beg, it simply is. And that's what you've become, the living embodiment of what happens when someone stops apologizing for their power and starts owning it. You were never beneath them. You were always beyond them, orbiting at an altitude they couldn't perceive until you decided to make your presence unmistakably visible. The moment you did, their entire framework of understanding reality shattered. The jaws that dropped that day will never close properly again, because what they saw was not just strength, it was revelation. It rewired something in them. It destroyed the myth of superiority they had been comfortably living in. You didn't just exceed their expectations, you detonated them. You redefined what they thought was possible. You became the glitch in their matrix, the exception their programming couldn't explain, the anomaly that proved their systems of control were flawed. You became living proof that the impossible is only impossible until someone like you decides otherwise. You warned them, calmly, clearly, repeatedly. You told them not to test you, not because you feared your own potential, but because you understood what would happen when they forced it into motion. But they didn't listen. They mistook your composure for compliance, your silence for surrender, your kindness for weakness. And now they live in the wreckage of that miscalculation, stunned, speechless, forever trying to make sense of what they unleashed. The real you isn't just exposed, it's established, sovereign, permanent. You no longer seek validation, explanation, or closure. You've transcended all of that. You've outgrown every conversation that used to matter. You no longer wait for apologies because you no longer require participation. You exist on your own frequency now, a frequency they can perceive but never access. They see you glowing at a distance and feel the ache of knowing that they built the walls that now separate them from your world. They're building monuments to their own mistakes now, massive, invisible structures made of sleepless nights and silent regret. Every time they scroll through your success, every time your name crosses their mind, another brick gets laid in the cathedral of their remorse. Every glance at your thriving life without them adds another layer. Every reminder that you don't need them deepens the foundation of that monument. They once had access to someone loyal beyond reason, genuine beyond measure, real beyond comparison, and they destroyed it out of ego. They thought testing you proved their power. They never realized the test were proving yours. They pushed until they broke something they'll never rebuild. And now, they're stuck outside the gates of their own creation, locked out of the kingdom they burned down. They stand on the outskirts, watching as you build empires from the ashes of their disrespect. They stare at you from afar, hoping for a glance, a word, a reaction. But what they don't understand is that you no longer operate in their world. You've shifted into a higher orbit. They can still see you, but they can no longer reach you. And that distance, both spiritual and psychological, is their punishment. You see them sometimes trying to re-enter your field, trying to manipulate the energy back into the old dynamic, probing for cracks in your composure. But there are no cracks anymore, because there's no mask to crack. What they once mistook for armor is now your natural form, hardened, purified, unbreakable. What they're looking at now isn't defense, it's dominance. A quiet, sovereign form of power that doesn't need to announce itself. You've become an offensive existence. You don't protect yourself from them anymore because they no longer register as threats. They're ghosts haunting the living version of a person who no longer remembers the language of fear. They can't intimidate, influence, or diminish what they didn't create. They thought they were the architects of your downfall. But the truth is humiliating. They were the laborers building your rise. Every betrayal, every insult, every trap they set was just another weight that forged your strength. Every attempt to break you was another layer of resilience being welded into your core. They thought they were destroying you, but in reality, they were refining you, hammering impurities out of your character until only brilliance remained. Now they live in the shadow of what they built. They talk about you like a myth, half in awe, half in fear. They can't comprehend how you turned their chaos into your catalyst, their cruelty into your curriculum. You're operating now on a wavelength they can't decode. Their instruments don't measure your frequency. Their logic can't map your movement. They sense the tremor when you shift, but they can't predict your trajectory. They feel your presence but can't locate your source. To them, you've become something otherworldly, something outside of their comprehension, something that doesn't play by the laws they understand. You've become the embodiment of what evolution looks like in real time. And that's what terrifies them most. Not just that you've changed, but that your transformation exposed their stagnation. You became the living evidence that growth is a choice, and they chose comfort. You became the proof that liberation is possible, and they chose captivity. You became the mirror that showed them what they could have been, and they can't forgive you for it. Your existence is a reminder that greatness was always an option. They just lacked the courage to choose it. You've transcended their dimension entirely. You're not competing with them, not proving anything to them, not even acknowledging their existence. You're creating a new world, brick by brick, reality by reality, powered by the energy they once tried to suppress. They see the ripples of your influence spreading through places they thought they controlled and can't understand how you did it. You became untouchable not because you built walls, but because you built altitude. And now they're left behind, staring up at the constellation that bears your name, wondering how they ever believed they could keep you grounded. They once called you too much. Now they call you unreachable. They once mocked your fire. Now they pray you never turn your light on them again. Because what they finally understand, what haunts them in the quiet hours, is that they weren't dealing with someone ordinary. They were dealing with someone inevitable. This frequency you're tuned into now doesn't depend on validation to keep its signal strong. It doesn't need to be understood to remain stable. It doesn't ask for permission to exist. It just is. You've risen into a realm of resonance that can't be tracked by their instruments or interfered with by their noise. You're not just on a new frequency, you are the frequency, transmitting, receiving, and amplifying your own current. You've become your own network, your own satellite, your own power source. You're self-generating, self-sustaining, and immune to interference. When they try to match your energy now, it's almost tragic to watch. Like children chasing lightning, they can feel it, they can see it, but they can't hold it without getting burned. They can't reproduce it, can't define it, can't even describe it coherently. They sense something's changed, but they don't have the language or awareness to articulate it. They're left fumbling for explanations, talking about your vibe, your energy, your shift, but they don't really get it. You're not just changed. You've evolved past their framework of understanding. This transformation isn't just behavioral, it's vibrational. It's not just in how you move, it's in what moves toward you. You've changed the entire algorithm of your reality. You attract differently now. The right people appear, the right opportunities align, the right timing unfolds, and it feels effortless. Not because you're lucky, but because you're finally transmitting in alignment with your highest frequency. The universe doesn't hesitate to respond to authenticity. It echoes it back immediately. Meanwhile, they're still stuck trying to dial your old number, wondering why the connection's gone dead. They wanted to educate you about power, about staying in your place, about not getting ahead of yourself. Instead, they enrolled themselves in your school of consequence. The tuition is steep, and the course is lifelong. Every sleepless night is a payment. Every intrusive thought of you is another fee. Every conversation that dies when your name comes up is an unspoken reminder that they created this outcome. The cost isn't money, it's peace. The price isn't material, it's mental. The interest rate? Regret, compounding daily. Their curriculum is brutal and inescapable. The syllabus includes courses like Advanced Regret Theory, Introduction to Permanent Consequences, the Mathematics of Lost Opportunities, the Psychology of Self-Sabotage, and the Science of Irreversible Change. Each lesson hits harder than the last. Every test is experiential. There's no cheating, no skipping ahead, no retakes. They're living the exam every day, failing it every night. They pushed someone too far and discovered that you don't break, you transmute. You didn't fracture under pressure. You fused into something harder than the pressure itself. They're realizing what it means to be on the wrong side of someone's transformation. They thought they could break your spirit, but instead they activated it. They thought they could bury you, but instead they planted you. Now you're growing in directions they can't predict, bearing fruit in seasons they don't understand. You're operating outside their calendar, outside their metrics, outside their reach. You exist as proof that pressure doesn't always destroy, it refines. Every night they replay it all, the warnings they ignored, the grace they mocked, the patience they exploited. Every replay stings a little deeper. You gave them mercy, and they mistook it for weakness. You gave them access, and they mistook it for ownership. You gave them loyalty, and they mistook it for naivety. And now the bill for all of it has come due, payable in full, every single day, for the rest of their lives. They're trying to rationalize it, to tell themselves you changed, that you became cold, that you lost your way. But deep down, they know that's not true. You didn't lose your way. You found it. You didn't harden. You clarified. You didn't close off. You elevated. They're standing in the ruins of their own misunderstanding, still believing they could have controlled the outcome, still not realizing that they were never even in the same game. You're not part of their ecosystem anymore. You've become an entirely new biosphere. This frequency you hold now carries precision. It doesn't wobble, it doesn't fluctuate. It's constant, stable, exact. You've mastered the art of silent dominance, the ability to shift the entire energy of a room without saying a word. You've learned how to project authority without needing validation, how to manifest alignment without forcing outcomes, how to be so internally grounded that no external chaos can shake you. That's the kind of power they can't measure, can't replicate, can't stand next to without feeling exposed. They're realizing now that the education they demanded was never about you learning your place. It was about them learning theirs. You were never a student in their class. You were the professor of reality, the embodiment of a truth they refused to believe in. You taught them that real power doesn't dominate. It stabilizes. It doesn't scream, it resonates, it doesn't compete, it creates. The tuition for that lesson is infinite. They'll pay it in the currency of lost sleep, unspoken envy, and the gnawing knowledge that they once stood close to something sacred and ruined it with arrogance. They'll pay it every time they see someone with a glimmer of your energy, every time they hear your name, every time they feel that hollow space where your presence used to be. They thought they could drain you. Instead, they charged you. They thought they were dismantling your structure. Instead, they were building your foundation. They thought they could silence you. But you became the frequency itself. A vibration too high to cancel, too pure to distort, too strong to contain. And now, while they tremble under the weight of their own lesson, you rise higher. Your signal grows stronger. Your reach expands. You've become what every attempt to suppress was secretly afraid of. Proof that no amount of opposition can stop what's divinely aligned. You're not just the result of transformation. You're the transmission of it. The walking broadcast of evolution. The signal that reminds the world what happens when light decides to stop apologizing for shining. That's all for today. Dear Father, I pray for the growth of my faith. Help me trust you even when physical evidence is lacking. Let me believe in your perpetual presence, knowing you will never harm me. I understand that your thoughts for me are thoughts of prosperity and not harm to give me a good future. Thank you, gracious and eternal Father, for always listening to my voice. I offer up this prayer to you in the name of Jesus. Amen. Thank you, Jesus, for your love and provision. I am grateful for your presence in my life and the abundance you bring. If this video resonated with you, please like, subscribe to the channel, and share it with those who need to hear this message. Leave a comment below about your journey and how you are preparing for your own triumphant return. If you'd like to support our work, please consider contributing through Buy Me a Coffee. This helps us continually improve our content to offer you the best. The link to Buy Me a Coffee is in the description. No gift is too small. Whether it's a penny, a prayer, or a share, your generosity helps spread God's word and brings hope to others. Don't stop here. Watch our next video for powerful revelations about the signs that reveal you are the chosen one. We've enjoyed following this spiritual journey with you. Thank you for staying with us until the end. Keep shining brightly and embrace your destiny with courage. See you next time. Blessings to all the beautiful souls from the Enlighten wisdom.